middle class, welcome back to Like Now But Worse, a show on the internet. Go on, prove me wrong. So this week we're gonna do something a little bit different. As you can see, I'm in my car, which has been described as a vehicle. I don't know if you guys know this, but when we do the banter rounds, usually most of what happens ends up on the cutting room floor. Especially with this last week when we got 3 questions from Wesley Trenchfoot Lee, Steward of Trench Guard and Guardian of the Trench. In total, what we ended up talking about went for about 30 minutes. And seeing as how the episode itself was, like 12 minutes, you can see how a lot of that got left. And you know what? I want to reward group participation, and this is absolutely not because I didn't have time to record my episode this week. No, that's why you're doing this. Shut up. Part of why I didn't get things recorded is because right now outside it looks like that. So you guys tell me, does that roof go on forever or is it made of sky? Can't tell. It's crazy, and I don't want to unplug my heater to do this. That's the degree! We've only got one of them. I want to be honest, and now I have been. Oh Lord, it's gone! So yeah, the extra questions that got cut out of last week's video are now being released to you, the people. So without further ado, probably... Oh, Jesus Christ! Here's some stuff, some yutzes talking.
I'd be fine with that. I'd spend all of my tax money on that.
Yeah, I'd get behind a force field.
Yeah.
You know?
That at least will work, so...
In theory, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's not like one of those lame-ass Star Wars Episode 1 force fields.
No,
where you can just walk through it.
Yeah, you just walk through it, and then it stops working. Not a fan.
But, you know... The effectiveness of that sort of force field would be about the same as the effectiveness of border walls.
About, yes.
Ever.
See, I'm looking for more of a cabin-in-the-woods level force field system.
That's the force field we need.
Yes.
The kind where...
The kind that kills Thor. That's what we need.
Where not even Thor... jumping the most epic motorbike jump of his life.
Yeah, that's...
is enough to get across.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
So...
Okay, new question.
Yeah, new question.
Jeremy.
So how many times has it been tried throughout history? And how many times has it worked? What's the scoreboard like?
The scoreboard on border walls. It's not looking good for the builders of border walls. There are a couple instances, which I didn't include in the video, that I'll talk about here. So one's the Sumerian Amorite wall that was built by the Sumerian Empire along the Tigris-Euphrates area to keep out what is like modern-day Iran, the mountain tribes from there, which would kind of raid a lot, like the Mongolians into the Chinese.
Yes.
The Babylonians had the same issue with these tribes. That's the same type of areas that like a lot of the Taliban and modern terror groups originated in. Osama bin Laden built his power base in that part of the world. It's always been really rugged and hospitable and breeds that sort of people. A lot of warlike, tribal type people who have raided the urbanized areas around them.
Okay.
So the Sumerian Amorite wall was a big border wall. This was built out of like baked mud and clay, you know, because this was way back in the BC times.
And in those times, the price of concrete was astronomical.
Yes, it could be argued that the price of concrete was inconceivable, even, because they just weren't using it yet.
Yeah,
and
it's a real shame.
Yeah, so you know, this wall worked about as well as any ancient fortification. It made people go a little further if they wanted to raid some stuff. That's about it. Still gonna chalk it up as a loss for the builders. The Wall of Gorgon was a wall built by the Persians. They built it to the north of their empire, kind of where modern-day Georgia is, next to the Caspian Sea.
Right.
And this wall supposedly was actually relatively effective. In fact, I'm gonna chalk this one up as the only win for border walls that I was able to find, because we really don't know that much about it. But some of the chief threats to the Persian Empire when this wall was built were coming through that exact mountain range, the Huns and the tribes to the northeast steppes of Persia. So this wall was probably pretty effective against them, actually, since it was actually built in a mountain pass.
Right.
which made it really inconvenient if you wanted to go around it. Unlike some of the other border walls we've talked about, where you could just cross water or a desert or something that is relatively traversable by horseback.
So that's probably better. Most of the walls that you've talked about thus far, you can either walk around or swim around. It's not ideal for security.
No, exactly. And this one is in some pretty rugged mountain range, and it apparently is thought to have been relatively effective for the Persians, since they did hold that territory for pretty much the whole time they were an empire.
Yes.
It also has like a complex system of canals and stuff coming from the Caspian Sea, which provide water and a moat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. They had a whole moat going on.
A whole moat? That is really good, especially when your invading force is water soluble.
That's right. Moats are solid.
Yeah.
And if you can border wall and moat, you got a better chance.
Yeah,
Plus, back then, another thing to consider in these ancient days was it's not modern America where you are held accountable for what you do to your citizens.
Yeah.
So back then, it's possible that if you were a prisoner and you were up for the death penalty, they were like,
hey, you know what else you could do? You could go to that wall. You could just guard the hell out of it. We won't kill you.
It's possible that there was some stuff like that happening, or just straight up slaves,
Right,
making it easier to man that sort of fortification.
Slaves were a lot easier to get a hold of back then.
So that's another one. Keep in mind, all three of these walls are far smaller than the walls talked about in the episode.
Yes.
A chief factor of a border wall is always that, it's just way too big. Even the Maginot Line, being substantially smaller than the Great Wall of China or the U.S.-Mexico Wall, are unmanageable still. They're just too big. And then a third example for you, the Long Walls of Athens, they were called. Athens built this cool giant triangle around not just the city of Athens, but also over to its port. So if its port is here, it had two walls going out from the port and then basically connecting sort of on the other side of the city. So they had a bunch of fenced in pasture land that they could keep farming even if they were under siege, and they could keep supplies coming in from sea. And it actually allowed them to hold off Sparta a lot longer than they would have been able to otherwise, until Sparta defeated them at sea and came in through the port.
Well, sure.
These walls are they're still more akin to city walls by modern standards than they would be to a border wall. But I would say they were big enough that they were surrounding a lot more than just the city of Athens.
Yes.
Athens didn't have much to worry about other than Sparta during their wars with Sparta, because Sparta was pretty tenacious, and they really didn't like Athens. So pretty much everybody could chip in and help make those walls maintainable and manageable, because they were the only thing keeping them from the Spartan blade.
It's a pretty good reason to chip in for a wall.
So that's some more examples I found that weren't in the video.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was a good answer to the old question.
Indeed.
And then we got uno mas.
Uno mas. Let's go for it. I'm pumped.
Okay.
And ready.
Jeremy, do you think there will be an increase in tunnel activity, and will it cause geological instabilities in the area around the wall? And how are they going to deal with increased tunnel activity?
There will be increased tunnel activity, and it will cause some destabilization, and nothing will be done about it. That's what's gonna happen. I can see it now. This is the kind of oversight that's happening. That's really the only way this can go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one.
My political insights are unparalleled.
Yeah, I can see that. So with that, that's our episode on walls.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be better off in just, putting down a bunch of landmines. I think it'll be cheaper.
Jesus.
Just a shitload of mines. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're our true intent to
to
completely keep everybody out. Yeah. All right, that's been another question round on Like Now But Worse. Thanks for tuning in, and like and subscribe and everything.